Hello, this is Mama Bear. You may have seen me at Morning Watch, and if you've seen me this morning, you have met my friends Baba and Moustache, homemade sock puppet. So today I'm gonna show you how to make sock puppet. There are really many different ways that we can make them, different features we can give them. You see here Baba's long nose is just an old piece of towel stuffed at the bottom of the sock. And Moustache's moustache and his eyebrows are made with string and dental floss. You can have puppets that have things sewn on them like these, or you can have more simple models like gluing, googly eyes, pipe cleaners, felt pieces, pom-poms. For this one, I even used a nose made out of an old sponge like this one, cut out and sewn on his face, and then it was accidentally ripped up and I glued it back on. So there's really many different ways that you can make your sock puppet. The first thing to do is to gather material that you have at home that you may want to use to make your puppet, whether it's material you're going to sew or glue. But it's important to ask your parents if you can indeed use this material for your puppet. Choose a sock, ideally one without holes, ideally a lonely one that you're not going to use to wear. Again, ask for permission to make sure that it is okay to use that sock. I got my material, I got my sock. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on my hand with my thumb in the heel of the sock and my fingers on the tip of the toes. And then I'm going to take a piece of chalk, or it could be a piece of marker if your sock is of a light color, to mark out where I would like the eyes to be on my puppet. In the case of this one, I want to make hair for it, a bit like Cleo here made hair out of yarn, but I might use string this time because I want it to have white hair. So I'm going to write on my hand with the chalk the area on which I want to put hair. I want to give it a tongue, so I'm going to mark here inside its mouth where I want the tongue to be. And then I can start my puppet. What I want to do first is to choose the eyes I want for my puppet. So here I have a big bag of buttons of all sizes that I got at the dollar store, but you can also have spare buttons that come with shirts, or with an old shirt that you would be throwing out, or buttons that you just don't know where they came from and they just pop out everywhere. Big buttons here that has been bought, I don't know for what purpose. So I'm going to choose what kind of eyes I want for my puppet. Now, if you can also choose googly eyes and just glue them on it. If you choose button eyes, one thing that you can do is choose colored thread to give it different colors of eyes. See, this one has a blue eye and a green eye. But for my puppet today, I think I'm going to use white buttons and black thread. I'm going to sew the eyes on my puppet. If you have never sewn, I suggest you ask the help of a grown-up to guide you to do that. So you take the needle, wet the thread a little bit, put it in the eye of the needle, like this. And then you take about the length of your arm of thread, doubled up like this. Okay, cut it. And then to make the nut, roll it around your finger. Put the little piece inside the loop. And do that twice so that you have a double nut that's bigger, that's going to not go through the fabric like this. If you have a long piece like that, after the knot you can just chop it like that. So I've got my needle and my thread, I've chosen my buttons. I scrunch up my sock like this so I can access the inside of the sock. I see where I wanted to put my button here with the chalk, so I hold the button in place and flip it around and make sure that I still have my finger on the button here. And then take the needle, have it go through the fabric and through the buttonhole. Pull, and then you put it in the next hole. Have it go through on the other side. Like that. So you repeat that until you have a thick layer of thread on this side, and then you do the same thing for the other side if you have 4 holes in your button. So now that I have a thick layer of thread on both sides of the button, I'm gonna make sure the thread sticks out from the inside of the sock, and I'm gonna do another double knot. I can go with the needle, the back of the needle here to get it in the loop. That's my first knot. I do it inside of the sock so you don't have a little piece that sticks out on the outside of your sock. Like this. And now I've sewn both eyes of my sock puppet. It's starting to look like it's got a face. I'd like to make a tongue for it. This one is made out of a piece of an old t-shirt that I've sewn. This one, Baba's tongue, is made out of a piece of an old towel. Today, for this puppet's tongue, I'm going to use a bit of red felt. So I'm going to simply cut it out in the shape of a tongue, and I'm going to glue it with white glue where I made my mark earlier. So it can be a short tongue, a long tongue, however you want it to be. It's fun to have a puppet with a tongue because you can make all sorts of funny things with it. When you make it speak, it sticks out a bit so it's funny, or it can lick the face of another puppet, or whatever you want. So here I had made my mark right there, so I'm going to fold it just a little bit, and I'm going to glue it here with a bit of white glue. Here it is. If you have at home something like hot glue, sticking everywhere, make sure you cover the surface on which you work to make sure that you don't put some in places you don't want it to be, but it can be used also to glue pieces on the puppets, and it has the advantage of not needing to dry. However, it can burn your fingers, so be very careful. So here we have a puppet that has eyes and has a tongue. Next thing I'm going to do is make the hair on the puppet. So what you will need if you want to make hair that is a bit like this on your puppet, you'll need either yarn or thread or something like that. But you also need a big needle that's meant to sew wool together. So you put it in just like you would with the thread earlier, and you make a knot at the end so it doesn't come right out of the fabric. And you'll need to flip your sock over so you can access the top of the head. Now my chalk is a bit erased, so I'm going to redefine the zone at which I want some hair. So I want it to start above its eyes here. I want it to end there. Remain on top of my hand like that. So now that I've defined where I want it to be, hold the sock like this so I can access the inside. I see where I want to start, flip it, prick it with the needle, pull it really hard. It sticks out like that, and then you can cut it at the length that you want the hair. So this one I want it to have relatively long hair, let's say like this. So I'm going to cut it. Now I have 2 pieces of hair, so I need to do that for that whole square area. Repeat until it is full. You can also, if you want, use some pipe cleaners that you glue on it to make it funky hair, or pieces of fabric or felt. You can do the hair in all sorts of different ways. So you can see here what I'm starting to do is doing a whole row of hair, and if I want it the same length all the way through, I just take the hair on the side and cut it the same length. It's better to make it longer than shorter because you can always give it a haircut when you're done putting it in. So now that I have my first row of hair right there, I'm going to start putting a second row right in the back until I get to the zone that I have decided would have hair, which is here. So now we got a puppet with a nice thick head of hair, which we can give it all sorts of hairdo, whatever fits its style. And now there's one more accessory I want to add. I want to put some reading glasses so that it can read scripture on Sunday morning. So I'm going to make them with a piece of pipe cleaner. I'm going to mark where I want it to be on the puppet with the chalk. And then I just form the glasses by twisting them around like this. Little reading glasses. We'll see if it fits well. Adjust it to the eyes. It's going to be like that. So I cut the excess with a pair of scissors. And now I'm going to glue them with the glue gun. If you have never done this before, it's good to have the assistance of a grown-up. Make sure you don't burn yourself. So I've heated up my glue gun. Make sure that the surface you're working on is not something that you really want to stay clean and nice. This is a cheap tablecloth I use only for crafts. So we get our piece at the ready. We don't put the puppets on our hands to avoid getting burned. And I'm gonna put some glue where I put the marks with the chalk. And very quickly put the glasses on because it cools down quite fast. So here we have a puppet. My puppet is born. That's my church lady. I don't know if you go to church outside of camp, but if you do, you certainly know more than one church lady. And church ladies are very important. They keep our church going. They're important for our faith journey because they share some of theirs through their witness or through their actions or both. And so to name that puppet, I would ask you to put in the comments below what's the name of your favorite church lady, so we can choose a name that honors real live church ladies. Thank you for watching. Have fun at camp!